Hello, welcome to my talk. Today I'm going to be talking about chronic fatigue advocacy groups. And this includes anyone with chronic fatigue syndrome, it's now called SCID, related to long COVID very closely, and they're now calling it the infection-associated chronic conditions. There'll be more than 100 labels in the past, and there'll be more than 100 in the future. The problem is this: when you go back about 50 years, it was regarded as a mental illness and attributed to anxiety, depression, psychosis, and that was compounding the confusion. And the treatments were reassurance, medication, and psychotherapy, and there are other methods of treating it which included forced exercise, graded exercise, and frontal lobotomy and deep sleep therapy and electroconvulsive therapy were used experimentally in mental hospitals, and there are other therapies which are essentially useless. And so I found myself in that position when I was 25. And I thought, I don't go along with all these ideas simply because one thing, a psychologist said he could scientifically prove my problems were mental and not physical. And I'd already studied psychology under scholarship in a course called Group at the Institute of Technology. And there's no scientific proof for those ideas. So I thought I'm in serious trouble here. I better do my own research. I severely exhausted the slightest thing, exhausted the slightest effort. I had a lot of other health problems as well associated with it. So I started doing research. Now, about 8 years later, I was put in charge of a research project because I worked out a reasonably good way of treating the fatigue. And the head of a research organisation saw how I'd succeeded where no one else had ever succeeded and wanted me to show other patients how to do it. And his two research cardiologists would have been the top researchers in this subject in Australia. They didn't want to do it, possibly because they didn't believe it could be done. But anyway, I set up this team and scientifically proved the effectiveness of what I did. And that method that I developed is now being used to treat chronic fatigue syndrome and long COVID, because those new labels have come along, essentially they're new in medical use. And so that's what I did. Now, as a private citizen, they wouldn't let me study at university because all I was capable of was part-time study because of my health, and there were no part-time courses in those days. So I had to do it by occasionally catching the bus to the university library and checking research journals, where I found out nobody knew what to do about this. At one stage I started collecting medical books until I had about 300 in my library within a few years at home, and didn't need to go to university anymore. So as a private citizen, I was doing research under copyright, which means if I get it right and other people want to use it, they're required to pay me licence fees and royalties to not on my name. But that's not the way things have worked out. Lots of people are now using my methods to treat things like chronic fatigue syndrome and long COVID. They're trying to trivialise my contribution as just an exercise method, which is insulting. It's a lot more complicated than that. And they'll add bits and pieces to it, which are quite simple. They think I didn't do it already. And they're relabelling these ideas and the individual aspects of my methods. For instance, so when I say train at your own pace, I'll call it pacing. And then I say train at your own level, and they say, we advise our patients to train within the energy envelope. Same thing, just different words. So they're all relabelling these things and they're rebadging it as if it's their own method. So it's now used by practically, taught at every university in the world, and used by every healthcare professional who's out there getting government reimbursement for their fees. And you now have patient advocacy groups. Before, when I was visiting patient groups, they were in mental hospitals or they were meeting in meetings, and when they come to my meetings, they're all quiet or even crying. And when they were coming, because I wanted a cure and I wanted to do the research to try and figure it out, and they didn't want to do that. And all the experts were telling me you can't, there's no physical cause. I'm wasting my time doing anything. I should do something creative with my mind, like take up art. Well, you can't cure any disease with a paintbrush. So, and they were meeting in houses and sticking ice cream sticks together on a kitchen table and painting, toys for Christmas for their kids. Well, that doesn't cure disease either. So that's what patients were doing. And so I just walk out and go home and just keep on doing research. Well, many decades have gone by and they're out there now using my methods to stay healthy, which I can't blame them for doing that because it's the only method of treating it out there. But they're putting together my method under a different label and rebadging it as their method. And more recently, instead of saying we're using Max Banfield's 1982 guidelines as a treatment, they're saying these are the 2023 long COVID guidelines or some such thing. And nothing new. And so they're out there and they're meeting together, often in advocacy groups. And what this means is they want to encourage the doctors and the universities to do research. And they don't want to do the research themselves because they see it as being too difficult for some reason. With my education, I know research is research. I know it's difficult and I know how you do it, so I did it. But most patients think it's mysterious and that you've got to be Albert Einstein and have a high IQ to get into it. Well, to some extent that's true. But then Albert Einstein was just a teenager once himself. So you've got to look things differently to what other people think. And there's nothing mysterious about science to me. You either get it right or you get it wrong. You can either prove it or you can't and all that sort of thing. So science does require intelligence of a particular sort. Well, I don't find that to be difficult. Very time consuming. It takes a long time to solve problems. Anyone who thinks they can solve a problem in 5 minutes, give up and go and watch television. You can't do it that way. So anyway, these groups, they get together, they copy my ideas under different names and call it their guidelines and then rebadge it under their name as their guidelines, and then they give it away for free to the universities. And then they give it away free to doctors, which is trashing my copyright. And it is illegal what they're doing. You can't just change a few words and say it's different. And then they got no shame in it, feel no guilt, and they feel they're justified as if I'm some kind of a bad guy who should be giving my ideas away for free. Well, I don't wait for doctors to solve the problem. I'm not like that. I do the research. If doctors want to use my ideas, go ahead with it. Just pay me each time. So they're giving it away for free to the universities, and then the universities are using my research to peer review it after the government gives them research funds. They're not even peer reviewing my ideas for free. And there's no research funds, they're not going to do it. That's what people in the universities do. They do research in exchange for funding. And that's what doctors do. They go and get educated. They learn what other people have figured out the last 2,000 years and earn money out of their knowledge. Why was aimed to earn money out of providing the knowledge that no one else could provide? People don't see that. They think they've got qualifications, therefore they can use everything for free. Well, try doing the research yourself and see how difficult it is. Very few people succeed at it. So anyway, the patient groups give my ideas away, call themselves non-profit organisations, give my ideas away for free to the universities who get research funds from the government to peer review it. If it's successful, the government's going to save billions a year in healthcare costs. That's why they give it to them. And then, if it's right, they'll teach it to their students who'll go out and make money out of it. And the students don't spend 20 or 30 years doing research. They just learn about it in a book and start charging fees for it and don't like the idea of paying me royalties on every time they use it. So the universities who teach in my methods in lecture fees without paying me royalties, they're getting status and prestige for the universities for the success, which is my success, and the doctors should charge it $300 an hour, $500 an hour, whatever, specialists $1,000 an hour. If somebody like a politician or the Wolves of Wall Street or top businessmen get sick with these problems, there's doctors out there charging $10,000 an hour. And patient advocacy groups are giving my ideas away to them for free. And I've stopped publishing. So if you're a billionaire and you get these sorts of problems, I'm not publishing anymore. So that's what people in the advocacy groups need to understand. I'm happy for you to go out there and promote the need for research. But if I'm doing it and I'm succeeding, I'm the guy supposed to get paid, not the peer reviewers and not the people out there in the community who make money out of it. Without me, do you really want to go back 50 years to when patients with chronic fatigue were called mental patients? To when they were given frontal lobotomies, forced exercise programs, deep sleep therapy? Do you really go back there, or are you happy that I made major improvements and major, superior, better methods, safer methods that everyone now uses? Makes them healthy enough to go at meetings. The stigma is reduced so they don't have to hide in shame anymore. And they're out there using my ideas, giving them away to other people for free as if that's what I'm supposed to do. It's never what I was supposed to do. I was taking risks. I was doing the research because if I succeeded, I'd derive the income. Now, I could name names, but what's the point? They're all out there using my methods these days to treat chronic fatigue syndrome, ME/CFS, long COVID, whatever else they want to call it nowadays. And whatever else they call their methods. They're generally the new 2023 treatment management guidelines. But there's a lot of labels out there. So if you're a person out there, I don't know whether you're a doctor, a patient, a lawyer, or a politician, or whatever, get real. I did the research. It's my copyright. And somebody out there should make sure I get it. Maybe I'll start publishing again. I know a lot more than people who've been studying it for 3 years. How can I end my talk? My success in 1982 was great. I'm wondering why I bothered. I could have succeeded without publishing. What would the world be like now if I didn't do that? Just think about it. And thank you for watching.